It's finally here. If you're reading this message right now on this specific day, it's not by accident. It's not random. It's not coincidence. You're seeing this because something profound is about to happen to you. Something so complete, so irreversible, so transformative that the person you were before tomorrow will cease to exist. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. Your old self is being deleted from the spiritual hard drive of reality. The patterns you've been stuck in, the identity you've been carrying, the limitations that have defined you, the wounds that have shaped you, all of it is being erased. And there's no undo button. There's no going back. There's no recovering what's being removed. This is not about self-improvement. This is not about becoming a better version of yourself. This is about complete deletion and total reconstruction. The universe is not trying to fix who you've been. The universe is removing who you've been so that who you're meant to be can finally emerge without interference, without contamination, without the baggage of your past holding you back. Tomorrow marks the day of spiritual death, not your physical death, but the death of every false version of yourself, every limited identity you've accepted, every broken belief you've carried, every toxic pattern you've repeated. Everything that has kept you small, stuck, suffering and separated from your true power is being deleted. And if you resist this deletion, if you cling to who you've been, if you try to preserve the old self that's being removed, you will experience this day as loss, as pain, as something being taken from you. But if you surrender to what's happening, if you let go willingly, if you cooperate with the deletion, you will experience tomorrow as liberation, as rebirth, as the beginning of a life you didn't even know was possible. Stay with me until the very end of this message, because I'm going to explain exactly why the last week of October is so spiritually volatile, what happens when you allow physical contact during this time, and how to protect yourself completely. And if your spirit is already confirming the truth of these words, write 777 in the comments right now. That number of divine protection and spiritual covering will mark your commitment to guarding what God has placed within you. This is not happening to everyone. This is happening specifically to the chosen ones who are ready for complete transformation. Let me start by explaining what deletion actually means in spiritual terms. When a computer deletes a file, it doesn't just hide it or move it somewhere else. It removes it from the system entirely, freeing up space for new data. That's exactly what's happening to you. Tomorrow, the universe is running a complete system purge, removing old programming, erasing corrupted files, deleting outdated software that's been running your life. And just like when you delete files from a computer, you're going to notice that some things simply aren't there anymore. Thoughts you used to think won't come to mind anymore. Behaviors you used to default to won't feel natural anymore. Emotional reactions you used to have automatically won't trigger anymore. Fears that used to control you won't have power anymore. Desires that used to drive you won't motivate you anymore. Relationships that used to define you won't feel relevant anymore. The old self, the collection of patterns, beliefs, traumas, identities and limitations that you've been calling you, is being systematically deleted from your consciousness. This is why tomorrow is so significant. We're now at the peak of the spiritually intense final week of October. The veil between worlds is at its absolute thinnest. The dark moon phase has stripped away all light, creating the perfect void for complete transformation. And tomorrow, specifically, when you break down the numerology, carries the energy of ending and completion. October is the 10th month, completion. And tomorrow's date reduces to 11, which is a master number representing spiritual awakening and transformation. But 11 also reduces to 2. 1 plus 1 tracks 2, the number of duality, choice and transition. This is the day when you transition from who you were to who you're becoming, when the duality ends and you become singular in your identity as your true self. But here's what you need to understand. This deletion is not punishment. This is not the universe taking something from you. This is liberation. Everything being deleted is what was keeping you imprisoned. Every pattern being erased is what was keeping you stuck. Every identity being removed is what was keeping you small. The old self that's dying today was never really you. It was the accumulated result of trauma, conditioning, false beliefs, other people's expectations, societal programming, family, patterns, and survival mechanisms you developed to protect yourself in a world that didn't feel safe. You built that old self for survival. But you're not just trying to survive anymore. You're being called to thrive, and the self you built for survival cannot thrive. It's not equipped. It's not designed for that. It's like trying to use a flip phone in the smartphone era. It worked for what it was designed for, but it's completely inadequate for where you're going. So, the universe is deleting the flip phone version of you and installing the smartphone version. But to do that, the old has to be completely removed. There's no hybrid version. There's no keeping parts of the old while adding the new. Complete deletion, total removal, absolute erasure. Now, let me tell you specifically what's being deleted tomorrow, so you can recognize it as it happens and not panic when you notice these things disappearing from your consciousness. The first thing being deleted is the story you've been telling yourself about how life has wronged you, about how you're disadvantaged, about how things are harder for you than for others, about how you can't succeed because of what happened to you, because of where you came from, because of who you are. That entire narrative, the victim story, is being erased. Not because what happened to you wasn't real, not because your pain doesn't matter, but because that identity is not who you actually are, and it's been keeping you powerless. The victim identity has served a purpose. It protected you. It explained why things didn't work out. It gave you something to hold on to when everything else fell apart. It connected you with others who shared similar wounds. It made your struggles make sense. But it has also imprisoned you in a version of yourself that cannot win, cannot thrive, cannot rise. Because victims, by definition, are people that things happen to, not people who make things happen. Tomorrow, you're going to notice that you simply can't connect with that victim story anymore. You might try to tell it to yourself or to others, and the words won't come. The emotional charge won't be there. The belief in it will have evaporated. Where you used to feel sorry for yourself, you'll feel empowered. Where you used to blame circumstances, you'll take responsibility. Where you used to see yourself as effect, you'll see yourself as cause. The victim is being deleted so that the victor can emerge. The second thing being deleted is the fear programming that has been running your decisions, your behaviors, your choices. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, fear of being seen, fear of being alone, fear of not having enough, fear of losing what you have, fear of what people will think, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of your own power, all of it. The entire fear-based operating system is being removed. This fear programming didn't start with you. It was downloaded into you from the moment you were born. Your family's fears, your culture's fears, your generation's fears, your personal experiences of pain taught your nervous system to be afraid of anything that remotely resembles what hurt you before. And over time, these fears became the invisible force directing your life. Every decision filtered through fear, every opportunity evaluated by fear, every relationship approached through fear. But fear is a terrible navigator. It keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. It protects you from danger, but it also protects you from destiny. It prevents pain, but it also prevents purpose. And the life you're being called into requires a different operating system, one based on faith, courage, trust, and divine guidance, rather than fear, caution, self-protection, and worst-case scenario thinking. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear will stop controlling you. It means fear will stop being the lens through which you see every situation. It means fear will stop being the voice that makes your decisions. Tomorrow, when fear tries to rise up and tell you all the reasons why you can't, why you shouldn't, why it's too risky, you'll notice that you simply don't believe it anymore. The fear will be there, but it won't have authority. It'll be like background noise you can easily tune out. The fear-based programming that has limited every aspect of your life is being completely deleted. The third thing being deleted is your addiction to other people's approval. Your need for external validation, your compulsion to make sure everyone likes you and agrees with you and thinks well of you. That entire mechanism, the constant scanning for approval, the adjusting of yourself to fit others' expectations, the shrinking to make others comfortable, the performing to earn love, it's all being erased. This need for validation started early. Maybe you learned that love was conditional, that acceptance had to be earned, that who you naturally were wasn't enough. So you developed this sophisticated system of reading rooms, reading faces, reading energy, always trying to figure out what people wanted from you so you could become that. You became a chameleon, changing colors to match whatever environment you were in, never quite sure who you actually were beneath all the adaptations. And this worked for a while. It kept you safe. It helped you belong. It reduced conflict. It made you likable, but it also made you exhausted, inauthentic, and lost. Because when you're constantly adjusting yourself to please others, you lose touch with your own center, your own truth, your own essence. You become a collection of other people's preferences rather than a person with your own identity. Tomorrow, you're going to notice that you simply don't care as much what people think. Not in a rebellious or defiant way. Not in an angry or resentful way. You just won't care. Their opinions won't reach you the way they used to. Their judgments won't affect you the way they did. Their disapproval won't devastate you like it always has. Because the part of you that needed their validation to feel okay about yourself is being deleted. What's replacing it is an internal knowing of your worth that doesn't require anyone else's confirmation. The fourth thing being deleted is your attraction to people who hurt you, your tolerance for relationships that diminish you, your pattern of choosing the wrong people over and over again, whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, business partnerships, or family dynamics. The toxic relationship patterns that have repeated throughout your life are being erased from your consciousness. These patterns run deep. Maybe you learned that love looks like chaos. Maybe you confused intensity with intimacy. Maybe you believed you had to earn affection through sacrifice. Maybe you thought fixing broken people proved your worth. Maybe you felt more comfortable in dysfunction than in health, because health felt unfamiliar and therefore unsafe. So you kept choosing people who triggered your wounds, who confirmed your negative beliefs about yourself, who kept you in familiar patterns even when those patterns were destroying you. And every time you chose wrong, you told yourself it would be different this time, that you could change them, that love was supposed to be hard, that this was just what relationships looked like. This means that people who used to be able to manipulate you won't be able to anymore. People who used to trigger you into old reactions won't get that response anymore. People who used to make you feel responsible for their emotions won't have that power anymore. Tomorrow, the delete button is being hit on every unhealthy relationship dynamic you've been caught in. You're not going to want to fix broken people anymore. You're not going to be attracted to chaos disguised as passion anymore. You're not going to confuse dysfunction with love anymore. The programming that made you choose wrong is being removed. The fifth thing being deleted is your belief in lack. Your mindset of scarcity, your conviction that there's not enough money, not enough opportunities, not enough love, not enough time, not enough resources, not enough good things to go around. This entire scarcity operating system is being removed from your consciousness. Scarcity thinking makes you hoard instead of share. It makes you compete instead of collaborate. It makes you operate from desperation instead of confidence. It makes you grab and cling and hold tight because you're terrified that if you let go, there won't be more. It makes you small in your thinking, limited in your vision, afraid in your actions. And scarcity breeds scarcity. When you believe there's not enough, you unconsciously create experiences that confirm that belief. You notice every lack, every limitation, every closed door. You overlook abundance that's right in front of you because you're so focused on what's missing. You reject opportunities because you're convinced they won't work out. You stay in situations that don't serve you because you're afraid nothing better is available. Tomorrow, you're going to start seeing abundance where you used to see lack. You're going to start noticing opportunities where you used to see obstacles. You're going to start believing in possibility where you used to see limitation. The part of you that hoarded, that held on tight, that operated from fear of not having enough, that's being deleted. What's replacing it is a deep trust in the universe's abundance, a knowing that you are always provided for, a belief that there's more than enough for everyone, including you. The sixth thing being deleted is the false humility that's been masquerading as virtue, but has actually been keeping you hidden, small, and ineffective. The voice that says, "Who am I to want more? Who am I to think I'm special? Who am I to stand out? Who am I to claim my power?" That entire program of self-diminishment disguised as humility is being erased. False humility is not the same as true humility. True humility is having an accurate assessment of yourself, recognizing both your limitations and your gifts, acknowledging both your humanity and your divinity. False humility is pretending you're less than you are, hiding your light so others don't feel dimmed, downplaying your gifts so you don't threaten anyone, making yourself small so you fit in, and somewhere along the way, you learned that taking up space was selfish, that shining bright was arrogant, that wanting more was greedy, that claiming your power was prideful. So you developed this pattern of apologizing for your existence, diminishing your accomplishments, deflecting compliments, hiding in the background. You called it humility, but it was actually fear of being too much. Fear of making others uncomfortable, fear of standing out and being targeted. Tomorrow, you're going to recognize that true humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself accurately. And when you think of yourself accurately, you see that you are powerful. You are chosen. You are meant for significance. You are designed for impact. The false humility that kept you hiding your light, downplaying your gifts, apologizing for your existence, it's being deleted. What's replacing it is confident humility, knowing who you are without arrogance, owning your power without pride, stepping into your calling without apology. The seventh thing being deleted is your unconscious addiction to struggle, your belief that everything good must be hard, your conviction that if it comes easy, it's not valuable, your pattern of making things more difficult than they need to be. This martyrdom programming, the part of you that proves your worth through suffering, is being removed. Maybe you learned that love has to be fought for. Maybe you saw that success requires sacrifice. Maybe you believed that rest was laziness and struggle was virtue. Maybe you internalized the message that if you're not exhausted, you're not doing enough. So you developed this pattern where even when things could be easy, you make them hard. Even when there's a simple path, you choose the complicated one. Even when you could receive help, you insist on doing it alone. and this martyrdom became your identity. You're the one who handles it all, the one who never complains, the one who powers through, the one who doesn't need help. And there's a strange pride in that, a twisted sense of worth that comes from enduring more than others could endure. But it's also killing you, draining your energy, stealing your joy, preventing you from receiving the ease and flow that's actually your birthright. Tomorrow, you're going to start experiencing ease in ways that might actually make you uncomfortable at first. Things will start flowing. Doors will open without you having to break them down. Opportunities will come without you having to hustle desperately. Relationships will feel natural without all the drama. And the part of you that's addicted to struggle might panic because ease feels unfamiliar, even wrong. But that part is being deleted. You're being reprogrammed to receive good things easily, to allow blessings to flow without resistance, to trust that you can have what you want without suffering for it. The eighth and perhaps most profound thing being deleted is your attachment to your pain, your wounds, your trauma stories. Not the memory of what happened that remains, but your identity as the wounded one. Your attachment to the pain as proof of your depth. Your use of trauma as your calling card. Your clinging to wounds as a way of connecting with others. All of that is being deleted. This might sound harsh, but hear me. Many people are attached to their pain without realizing it. The pain becomes familiar. It becomes how you explain yourself to others. It becomes how you bond with people. It becomes your excuse for why things don't work out. It becomes proof that you've lived, that you've experienced something real, that you're not shallow. And there's a strange comfort in that pain, a perverse safety in staying wounded. Because as long as you're wounded, you don't have to risk being hurt again. As long as you're broken, you don't have to try and possibly fail. As long as you're the damaged one, people's expectations are lower, and you can't disappoint them. The wound becomes armor, becomes identity, becomes home. But you can't heal what you're attached to. You can't release what you're holding on to. You can't transform what you're using as your foundation. And tomorrow is forcing the issue. The universe is deleting your attachment to pain, whether you're ready or not, because your destiny requires you to be whole, not wounded. Now here's what you need to understand about what happens after the deletion. When you delete files from a computer, it creates empty space. And tomorrow is creating massive empty space within you. All these patterns, identities, beliefs, and programs that used to take up so much room in your consciousness are being removed, leaving vast expanses of emptiness. And your first instinct might be to panic at that emptiness, to rush, to fill it with something, to grab onto any identity or pattern just to feel like somebody again. Don't do that. Resist that urge with everything you have. The emptiness is not a problem. It's the solution. The void is not something to fear. It's something to honor. Because in that empty space, in that void, in that nothingness, that's where your true self can finally emerge. That's where divine downloads can finally land. That's where your authentic identity can finally form without the contamination of everything that was there before. Think of it like renovating a house. You can't build the new until you demolish the old. And after demolition, there's a period where it's just empty space, exposed framework, raw potential. It doesn't look like much. It feels uncomfortable. It seems like loss rather than progress. But that empty space is necessary. That void is where the transformation happens. That nothingness is the canvas on which your new life is about to be painted. So tomorrow and in the days immediately following, don't panic if you feel like you don't know who you are anymore. Don't freak out if your old ways of being don't work anymore. Don't try to go back to familiar patterns just because the new feels foreign. This is the deletion happening. This is the old self dying. This is the void between who you were and who you're becoming. Honor it. Sit in it. Let it be empty for as long as it needs to be empty. This emptiness is actually sacred space. In spiritual traditions across cultures, this void state has been recognized as the most potent moment for transformation. The Buddhists call it emptiness, the state of being empty of all false constructs. The mystics call it the dark night of the soul, the period where everything familiar falls away before enlightenment arrives. Every spiritual path recognizes this void state as necessary, as sacred, as the doorway to rebirth. But our modern culture has no tolerance for emptiness. We're taught to stay busy, stay distracted, stay productive. We're terrified of the void. We fill every moment with activity, every silence with noise. We run from emptiness like it's death itself. But what we don't understand is that emptiness is not death. It's the space before birth. It's the womb. It's the cocoon. It's the fertile darkness where new life is forming. So, when tomorrow creates this emptiness within you, when the deletion leaves you feeling hollow and undefined, recognize it for what it is, sacred preparation for who you're becoming. Don't rush to fill the space. Don't panic and grab onto any identity just to feel like somebody. Sit in the uncertainty. Rest in the unknowing. Trust the emptiness. Here's what's actually happening in that void. Your true self is emerging, not the self that was built from trauma, conditioning, and survival mechanisms. Not the self that adapted to please others or protect itself. Your essential self, your soul. The you that existed before the world told you who to be. The you that's been waiting beneath all the layers of false identity. Patiently waiting for the moment when everything else would be stripped away so it could finally emerge. This true self doesn't need to be created or constructed. It just needs to be uncovered. It's been there all along, buried under years of programming and pain. And tomorrow is doing the excavation work, removing all the debris, clearing all the rubble, deleting all the false overlays so that what's real can finally be seen, felt, known, and lived from. Now, let me tell you what's being installed in place of what's being deleted. Because this is not just about removal, it's about replacement. The universe is not leaving you empty. It's clearing space so something better can be installed. Where victim identity was deleted, empowered creator identity is being installed. You're no longer someone that things happen to. You're someone who causes things to happen. You're no longer powerless. You're powerful beyond measure. Where fear-based programming was deleted, faith-based operating system is being installed. Your default response is no longer what could go wrong, but what could go right. Your natural orientation is no longer self-protection, but divine trust. Where need for external validation was deleted, internal knowing is being installed. You no longer need anyone to tell you you're worthy. You know it in your bones. You no longer need permission to be yourself. You grant yourself that permission. Where toxic relationship patterns were deleted, healthy relationship discernment is being installed. You now naturally recognize what's good for you and what's not. You automatically repel what doesn't serve you and attract what does. Where scarcity mindset was deleted, abundance consciousness is being installed. You now see resources everywhere. You trust that provision comes. You operate from overflow rather than lack. Where false humility was deleted, authentic confidence is being installed. You know who you are without arrogance. You own your power without apology. You shine your light without shame. Where addiction to struggle was deleted, ease and flow are being installed. You now allow good things to come easily. You trust that what's meant for you doesn't require force. You move with grace rather than grinding. Where attachment to pain was deleted, wholeness is being installed. You're no longer defined by what happened to you. You're no longer held hostage by old wounds. You've transformed pain into power, wounds into wisdom, trauma into testimony. This is who you're becoming tomorrow. This is what's being installed as the old is being deleted. And this new self, this true self, is who you were always meant to be. It's you finally free from everything that was covering you, distorting you, limiting you. let me give you specific guidance for how to move through this day of deletion and rebirth. First, expect to feel disoriented. Your usual reference points are disappearing. You might feel like you're floating, unanchored, uncertain. This is normal. This is the deletion happening in real time. Don't fight it. Second, don't make any major decisions today. You're between identities right now. The old self is dying, and the new self hasn't fully emerged yet. Wait until you're more settled before making significant choices. Third, create space for silence and solitude. This is not a day for crowds or socializing. This is a day to be alone with yourself, to witness what's happening within you, to honor the death and birth that's occurring. Fourth, let emotions move through you without resistance. You might feel grief, fear, anger, relief, all of it at once. Let it flow. Cry if you need to cry. Just don't suppress or judge the emotional process. Fifth, speak declarations of who you're becoming. I am powerful. I'm whole. I'm free. I am my true self. I'm no longer bound by my past. I'm stepping into my destiny. Your words are programming the new operating system. Sixth, journal what you're noticing. Write down what feels different. Record what's leaving and what's arriving. Document this day because it's significant. Seventh, trust the process, even when it feels like loss. The old self that's being deleted might have been familiar, but trust that what's leaving needed to leave and what's coming is better. And eighth, rest. This is exhausting work. Your system is undergoing massive reorganization. Honor that by resting, sleeping, being gentle with yourself. In the days and weeks following, you're going to notice profound changes in how you think, feel, and behave. Things that used to trigger you won't anymore. Patterns that used to trap you won't work anymore. People who used to affect you won't have the same power anymore. And the most surprising part might be how natural it all feels, like this is who you've always been. You'll catch yourself making different choices without even thinking about it. Choosing the healthy option over the toxic one. Choosing authenticity over performance, and it won't feel like effort. It'll just feel right. You'll notice that certain people fall away from your life without drama. They'll just naturally drift out because you're no longer a vibrational match. And other people will suddenly appear, the right people, the aligned people, the ones who match who you've become. You'll experience opportunities opening that never would have opened to the old version of you. Not because the universe is suddenly being more generous, but because you're now capable of receiving what was always meant for you. You'll feel lighter, clearer, more yourself than you've ever felt, like you've been carrying a heavy costume your entire life, and someone finally gave you permission to take it off. The relief will be profound. The freedom will be exhilarating, and when you look back at who you were before tomorrow, you'll barely recognize that person. You'll remember them like someone you used to know, but aren't anymore. There might be compassion for who that person was and what they endured, but there won't be any desire to go back to being them, because you'll know with certainty that the deletion was the best thing that ever happened to you. The old self had to die, so the true self could live. The false identity had to be erased, so the real you could emerge. And tomorrow was the day it all happened. The day the universe hit the delete button on everything that wasn't really you and gave you the space to finally become who you've always been beneath everything else. This is your spiritual death and rebirth compressed into one day. This is your transformation happening in real time. This is the universe removing every obstacle between you and your destiny. And the biggest obstacle was the old version of yourself, Lee. Tomorrow, the day your old self is deleted forever. The day your true self is finally free to emerge. The day everything changes because you're finally changing at the deepest level. Surrender to it. Trust it. Let it happen. What's being deleted needed to go. What's being installed is what you've been waiting for your entire life. Your old self is being deleted tomorrow. And the you that emerges on the other side will be more powerful, more authentic, more aligned, and more free than anything you've been before. This is not loss. This is liberation. This is not death. This is birth. This is not the end. This is the beginning of everything you were meant to be.